Hello, and welcome to another episode of Edible RX, the podcast that teaches autoimmune warriors to use anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle as medicine. I'm Laura Rodriguez, holistic chef, autoimmune warrior, and creator of the Flare Free Academy, and I've been using anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle to manage the symptoms of my rheumatoid arthritis since 2015. I've since reversed a handful of other conditions along the way, but just like anything else in life, my healing journey was not a linear one, and I'm still working on my health today. So if you're an autoimmune warrior who is interested in lessening inflammation, decreasing the symptoms of your condition, and improving the quality of your life, even if it's something you have to work on forever, then buckle up because this is the podcast for you. All right, on today's episode, I want to share with you some tips for raising adventurous eaters and share with you an incredible testimony from a friend of mine, local mindset coach MaryBeth Easler, who has been raising an adventurous eater for 14 years with great success. Because I feel introducing your child to a variety of different flavors and textures from the moment they start eating is the easiest way to ensure that they don't grow up to be picky. As I talk about in my Is Your Picky Eater Really Picky podcast episode, I don't think kids are actually born picky. I used to teach English as a second language in South Korea, and I've lived in Italy. I've been to 8 different countries. And what I can tell you is that kids of all ages all around the world eat more than just chicken nuggets and french fries, okay? And I'm not going to say that they don't love those things too, because I mean, who does it, right? But what I'm saying is that I've seen kids go bananas over things like octopus, anchovies, mushrooms, and eggplant before. So I know that kids are not inherently picky. I think parents are exhausted. I think they're tired of fighting with their kids. And as parents, we have to pick and choose our battles, right? We can't be great at everything. Okay, supermom doesn't exist. It's not a thing, okay? But if you want to prevent yourself from having to deal with your kids growing into selective eaters as they age, the best way to approach this, in my opinion, is to start serving your kids a wide variety of flavors and textures from the moment that they start eating. So the tips I'm going to share with you today are all things that I did for my daughter. And I must say, I'm pretty proud of her palate for just being a 9-year-old, okay? I think egg yolks is the one thing that I go out of my way to make separate for her. So I always in the morning crack the egg, take out the yolk. I fix that for me or my husband, and I just make her a fried egg white. But pretty much everything else that she has quote unquote hated before, she's come around to liking, which is very interesting. Because we have been diligent with her in following the tips that I gave you in last week's episode about how to expand your family's palate, right? So, 2 of my daughter's first foods as a child are still 2 of her favorite foods today. Now, don't get me wrong. She loves pizza, pasta, hot dogs, you name it. She actually loves school lunch. So much so that in kindergarten, she just helped herself to the school lunch line, even though we were sending her with her own lunch and we didn't even have her enrolled in the school lunch program. So she had no way of paying for it. Yeah, one day she came home from school with a bill and we were like, what in the world? But we had to put a stop to that pretty soon after there because her behavior started to really suffer. And so now we don't let her eat school lunch. She's back to taking her own lunch, but we do let her have the Thanksgiving lunch at school once a year and whatever treats and stuff that her school offers for functions and stuff. But most days she even fixes her own lunch, which is great. That's been one of the things that we have implemented, make your own lunch, because that way she puts things in there that she actually wants to eat. And she's not coming home with a ton of food left in her lunch box and telling me that she ate hot chips from one of her friends at lunchtime, right? So anyway, without further ado, let me share with you the 4 steps that I took to raise an adventurous eater that I think that you should try for yourself when your babies are ready to eat. Okay. Number 1, serve your child exactly what you eat from the moment they start eating. So we did baby led weaning, and I'll link that in the show notes, but it's a concept where you basically cut bite-sized pieces of food for kids or large strips so they can pick it up and gnaw on it, even if they don't have teeth, to encourage them to properly chew their food versus just swallowing it like babies do when you spoon feed them purees, and baby cereal, right? And so we just skipped the whole purees and baby cereal thing. Now, we did do the pouches that they can suck up. We did do those as like snacks, but we basically started serving her the same things that we were eating as adults, just cut up into slightly larger pieces so she could grab a hold of it and gnaw on it. And I think that's really wonderful for all babies. I think technically the first thing my daughter ever put in her mouth was cereal and cucumber sticks. We gave those to her for teething. And her first food was actually something she grabbed out of my hand. It was a piece of dried Korean seaweed. So there's nothing that we ate that we didn't give our daughter. She even ate kimchi stew as a baby, which is still one of her favorite foods to this day. So my second tip is to serve a variety of textures and flavors to your baby. So don't just give them the highly palatable, overly sweet, overly salty, overly crunchy options, right? You want to serve them the weird tasting stuff too. And I say weird in quotations because it might only be weird to the American, like according to American standards, right? So things like fermented pickles, eggplant, mushrooms, shrimp, sauerkraut, all that kind of like funky stuff. Number 3, avoid serving your babies sweet foods and drinks. Now, my daughter nursed for 2.5 years and she went straight to drinking water. We never did the whole like milk in a cup thing for her because at the time I was working for a nonprofit that delivers free organic healing meals to cancer patients every week. And I had read several studies at the time on the correlation between drinking large amounts of cow's milk and the development of cancer later on in life. So I just personally decided to forego giving her any type of milk as a toddler and just served her filtered water. But please do your own research and decide for yourself how you want to handle that. But I do strongly consider that you don't serve your toddler or your baby juice or anything else sweet to drink, like Kool-Aid, definitely not soda, things like that. Babies are not supposed to have sugar under the age of 2. And in my opinion, juice, even if you buy the 100% juice, no added sugar juice, it's just pure sugar. You know what I mean? It's so harsh on your blood sugar that it sets you up for a whole day of sugar cravings. And so I personally don't think it's the best option for kids and babies as something to serve them every day, maybe as a treat or as a dessert once in a while, at a party or something. Now, to learn more about blood sugar, I highly suggest you follow the Glucose Goddess on Instagram. I'll link her in the show notes. Check out her book, read the data for yourself. She'll show you that 1 glass of orange juice will get you more than the whole entire day's worth of recommended amount of sugar that you should have in just 1 glass. And so why not just serve them, good quality filtered water, right? Because we're talking about raising adventurous eaters here, right? So we're trying to get them in the habit of like not serving them highly addictive foods like overly sweetened, overly salty, overly crunchy foods. So serving them plain water instead of juice is just a really super easy way to do that. All right, so the same thing goes for sweet foods. The pear purees, the butternut squash purees, the sweet potato purees, all of that stuff honestly can come later. Because everyone likes sweet foods, you know what I mean? It's like we know they're going to like sweet potatoes. We know they're going to like fruit. And I know there's people out there listening who are like, I cannot get my kid to eat fruit. I know, but I'm generalizing here, right? I know some kids don't like fruit, but most kids love sweet foods, right? And so I suggest you serve them things like zucchini, cucumbers, carrots, avocado, broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, celery, in a variety of different ways. They could be steamed, they could be roasted, they could even be grilled, they could be raw, right? You want to give them a variety of textures and flavors. Bell peppers would be great here. And then slowly but surely, you can start adding in the fruit, the sweet potatoes, the butternut squash, etc. later on. And then lastly, number 4, don't order your babies or your kids or your toddlers anything off of the kids menu if you're going out to eat at a restaurant. Just ask for an extra plate and fix them a little plate of everything that you order. Simple as that. Cut up into pieces that they can grab and pick up and put in their mouth and gnaw on, okay? Trust me, my daughter went a long time before she ever had chocolate milk, hot dogs, etc. And once she did, it was over for her, okay? Like I said in the beginning, she loves school lunch. She loves all of that, like overly salty, overly fried, crispy, crunchy sweet foods when she can get it. Um, who wouldn't, right? But before that, before she'd ever had that, she didn't know any better, right? And so she loved things like yogurt with honey and berries. And I would serve her, like, if she had a sweet tooth, I would serve her like a piece of toast with coconut oil and honey on top. So I think it's really possible to set your kids up for not only good, healthy eating habits, but also to be adventurous when we hold back on giving them those things that maybe as parents we think of giving them first, right? Because maybe we want to spoil them, or we want to treat them, or we just, yeah, we want to kind of like show our love in that way by feeding them. But actually you can show love in a completely different way by feeding them healthy foods that's going to set them up for a life of adventurous eating. So just to recap really quickly before we bring MaryBeth into the conversation, here are 4 steps that I took to raise an adventurous eater that I think you should try for your babies at home. Number one, serve them exactly what you eat. Number 2, serve them a variety of different textures and flavors from the day they start eating. So serve them the weird, funky foods, right? Number 3, avoid serving them sweet foods and drinks as long as you can. Babies under the age of 2, they're not supposed to have any added sugar in their diet. And trust me, they're going to have their whole lives to eat the sugar-laden foods. So don't worry. And lastly, number 4, don't order for them or let them order off the kids menu at a restaurant, okay? If the hostess asks if you need a kids menu, just say no, no thank you, and then ask your server for an extra plate and give them a little bit of everything that's on your plate. So that's it. I hope you try these tips when your babies are ready to start eating solids. And now let's get into the interview with local mindset coach MaryBeth Easler. All right, welcome so much to the podcast, MaryBeth. I'm so excited that you're here. This is a little bit of a discussion that you actually DM'd me about something that I had posted on Instagram, and you were like, yes, more of this content, please. So you hit me up. I was like, let's get you on the podcast, because you know what? It is so important for me to share real stories of real people putting in the work and seeing the results, because it is so hard to know what's possible for you if you don't have a good example. So thank you for being here, and please introduce yourself to everyone. Let's tell us who you are, what you do, and where you live.
You are welcome. I'm excited. It definitely hit a nerve, not a nerve, but I was like, yes, we have to talk more about this. So I'm MaryBeth Easler. I'm in Nashville. I'm a single mom, been a divorced single mom for 10 years. So, but I'm a single mom. I have a 15-year-old boy, and I've been a single mom for about 10 years. So we got divorced around when he was 4 or 5. So this is part, it's relevant because it's definitely part of the story that you'll hear more about as we chat and get into our conversation.
Awesome. So what do you do?
So I work from home. I have online businesses, and I'm starting a life and mindset coach business.
Awesome.
I've been coaching and mentoring women for years through my businesses, and actually just got certified for a mindset piece, which is great. And it's really, it's helpful as I help other women, like in this phase of life. We have to kind of get our mindset right and replace our thoughts of deprivation and scarcity and restriction with abundance and healing, and just choosing our mindset is really important in this season of life when our mind and our bodies are playing tricks on us.
So when you say in this season of life, do you mean perimenopause, menopause?
Sure. Yeah. I'm 47. And there's a lot that comes with that. I am a parent of a teenager who is older and about to flee the nest. I'm he's an only kiddo. He's just the one. I know, right? It's a blessing and a curse to raise an awesome human that's going to leave you. No one talks about that.
Right.
And yes, over 40, that midlife season, again, when, you're really hitting midlife and looking at the second half, plus your body's going through changes, things that were working don't necessarily work anymore, like diet, exercise, things like that. I just saw a post the other day from a woman who just hit, it wasn't 40, it wasn't 41, but it was 42. And she was like, and she does all the things. She works out, eats well, has her supplements. And she's like, I'm not performing the way I used to. I have cellulite where I didn't used to. So all of a sudden, things flip and your whole dynamic can change in this season.
Right.
With
So it's important to have kind of like a mindset preparedness for when that happens so that you don't let everything kind of go off the rails.
Yeah, you got to get your mind right because you really can go down a spiral when everything's changing all at once. So,
and we are going to talk about mindset soon. So that's amazing. I'm so glad that you shared that with us. And I really wish you a lot of luck with your new business endeavor. I think you're going to do great.
thank
So,
you.
You've been raising an adventurous eater for quite some time now. And I'd love to start by asking you, why you decided to feed your son everything that you eat. But before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit more about your son? Because you do have a unique story.
Yes, we do have a unique story. And it's funny because it's so relevant. Because he actually was adopted when he was 15 months. And it was an open, sort of semi-open situation. And so we met his birth mother and she talked about what he liked to eat and things like that. And I remember I wasn't even consciously on any kind of a health journey at that point. In fact, I was pretty unhealthy and overweight at the time. But I remember her saying that he would drink a McDonald's chocolate milkshake on his own at a year old. And I was like, and I remember he had Kool-Aid in the bottle. So from the get-go, there was, questionable nutrition choices, different nutrition choices than I would have made for a 1-year-old.
Sure.
So no judgment there, but we knew that we might have some work to do. So to say that he's always had this or I've always done this, it really has been a progression. And I thought more about, we were talking about Henry and his story.
I thought it would be good to tell us about your son.
Sorry. I totally was like off on a tangent on that. But he was adopted at 15 months. And he is incredible. He's an amazing little human. He is very smart and I'm not to brag, but he's just very witty. He's very funny. He loves to dance and sing and he's at high school. He's finishing his freshman year. He's a big golfer. He's really active. He loves he's swimming and golfing and today he actually has tennis. So
wow.
we definitely he raised himself to be an active kiddo, but so it's fun to see him really just come into his own now. But I've loved being his mom. It's kind of like crazy to think, well, I'm totally off on a tangent, but anyways, he's incredible. He's super fun. And we're, kind of like ride or dies, it's me and him against the world, but, he's great.
Okay. So you adopted him when he was 15 months old and you've been raising him alone for the last 10 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I will say, it's
co-parenting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm definitely a solo parent. He has a great dad and we co-parent well. So it's always kind of tricky with those terminologies, but yes, I've been a single mom for 10 years. So yes.
Okay. And so when you adopted him, he did have certain nutrition, or food choices at that point when you adopted him, right? Based on what he was being fed at home. And so, but, because I know that the easiest way to start is literally to just start feeding your kid healthy from the day that they start eating, right? But we can't always control that. And so I'd love to hear why you chose to start feeding Henry things that maybe he wasn't originally introduced to in the first year of his life.
Yeah. So it's funny. I was thinking about this and I really don't know if it was a conscious choice. I think it was a progression. I was kind of thinking back over the last 10 years. I remember his first meal here was literally Kraft macaroni and cheese and watermelon. So we always kind of had that balance mentality, right? Mm-hmm. Like have a vegetable or whatever. So we definitely started with the balance situation, but then when he came home, people must have been bringing us food or something. And I remember somebody must have brought us artichokes or something wackadoodle that you wouldn't necessarily give a 1-year-old. And he like inhaled them. So part of it was nature versus nurture. Right. And, so I think it started from a place of balance. And then I know specifically in his early childhood, I had a couple of, I don't know what made me choose this, but whether it was conscious or subconscious or what, but I remember I had like two rules. I forget the second one. Let me think about this. One was if you have a snack out of the pantry, the next one's out of the fridge.
Hmm.
Oh, I know the second one. And now at that point, I was starting in a health program. I was with a wellness company, so I was sort of making changes right when we got separated and divorced. So I was in around that world of parents like on a health journey and trying to integrate that into their kids too. Right. So that was one was, if you have a snack out of the pantry, this next one comes out of the fridge. And the second one was that I'm not a short order cook. I'm not going to make different meals for all of us. I don't mind doing a different side or something like that, but the base is going to be the same. I don't care if you put, different toppings on your chili or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of the two standby rules that I had. One for energy, one for just like to protect my own energy, right? For not cooking a million meals. And then the other one was just the snack rule that I don't really know where I came up with that, but I really like it.
I love.
Anyone, they're like, oh, that's smart. Because it also gives them the autonomy to be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I picked a snack out of the pantry. The next one comes out of the fridge. They can pick their snack or he
Mm-hmm.
can pick his
Right.
snack.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny to think back, 10 years ago, because he's 15 now,
Yeah.
which is a whole other conversation. We'll get to that somewhere in the lineup here.
I love both of those concepts. And I love the idea of, I can fix a separate side or make different toppings and you get to choose what goes on it. But at the end of the day, we're having chili today. That's a great way to think about it
Yeah.
because we don't want to punish our kids for their food choices. It's okay to have preferences. It's okay to not like something, but you got to try it enough times to know that you don't like it. And then also at the end of the day, this is what we're eating. This
Mhm.
is what we're eating. I'm sorry for you, but you got to find something on this buffet that you like. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
you're lucky that mom is even cooking at all because I'm tired.
100%. Because I'll tell you, so the third rule that I just remembered too was that I never used it because again, when he was early kiddo, 4 or 5 years old, I was already a part of this nutrition program. And I remember someone saying, you're not a Labrador. You don't need to reward yourself with food. Food isn't good or bad. You don't use your food as a treat or for punishment. And I never did the M&Ms during potty training or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because of the method I used, they were like, don't over reward. And so I didn't. So I never really used food as a reward. We definitely have our treat meals and things like that, but it's not, we very early on, I chose to not have good food versus bad food.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of approach it from a balance point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's what I'm getting at, what I'm seeing from you is that even though maybe you didn't realize it in the beginning, you've always had an important place in your mind and your heart for setting the right language around food and things like that. And that's really great because as I just said yesterday, I commented on Dr. Will Cole's post, and he was talking about how it's not safe to say to everybody that all foods are good, which I think is true. You can't say like a cupcake is good, but I think it is important to get away from using good and bad language around food because so many people they attribute more morality to eating, right? And they think, oh, well, if I ate something bad, now I got to eat something good, or I was bad, so now I got to work it off. And it's like, that's how we end up with disordered eating, right? And so that's not what we want for our kids. And so there's nutritious food and there's food that doesn't have nutrition. And then there's anti-inflammatory food and then there's inflammatory foods. Like just like we teach our kids to say the proper body parts, right? For
Mhm.
safety, we can teach them the proper language of food. It doesn't have to be eat your or you're such a good eater or you're a bad eater or why do you eat so bad imagine how that makes a tiny little person feel,
Mhm.
right? And now they're all of a sudden supposed to eat everything on their plate. There's just a lot of work that we I think as a society have done over the years to try to change this, and I think it's important work and anybody can do it. So that's awesome. So I'd love for you to share with us, even though, you know, it seems like he was an adventurous eater from the beginning with the artichoke story, he kind of gobbled those up. Have you faced any difficulties over the years in raising him to be an adventurous eater?
You know what's funny? More so now, and that I can, I don't rem that was one of the hardest questions that you had sent me, and I, I can't really identify a lot of difficulties now. It's more like I want to treat, and he's like, "No, mom, I want to eat healthy. I want to have a healthy," because he's 15 and he's all about, the cut and
Yeah.
all things at 15. He's lost all of his baby fat. He's completely different.
Oh,
Sorry, the dog is like being a pain. So kind of now it's almost reversed a little bit where he wants to eat healthier and I'm like, but I want to order out.
that's hilarious.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of
Wow.
the
I
current
love
struggle, I would say, is just really keeping in mind his goals because he's
mm,
more on that wavelength too. He's very
mm.
conscious about it. So just keeping that in mind where about what he wants
Wow.
to his goals. So it's funny. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Funny
So
shift.
other than like, maybe his underlying health goals and just wanting to, be able to perform for his athletic endeavors, is there anything else that you think maybe raising him as an adventurous eater has helped kind of like shape him into the person that he is today? Has it
Um,
had any benefits for him?
I do. I think that, he has sat through very grown-up meals. We
Mm.
travel a lot and I can take him to a nice restaurant. You need to chill, calm your butt down. So this is how we run our household, right? We're like kind of a no-nonsense household anyways. Like that's what the dog. So he just went to his toy bin. He'll be fine. It's funny. He's very mature and emotionally and mentally mature for his age because of things that we'll walk through, his adoption, our divorce. I also had a kidney transplant in there somewhere.
Mm.
So, he's walked through very adult things. So we can take him to an adult dinner, we can travel. He's around his dad's clients, he's around my adult friends. So that's kind of the biggest thing. So I don't have to worry about
Mm.
a quote unquote picky eater or him having chicken nuggets and fries or something.
At like a nice steakhouse.
Right, exactly. Like we can go to nice dinners and I don't have to worry about like the kids menu or if he's going to eat it.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's
That's huge. That's huge.
I do because I think that where he definitely has sort of, I don't want to say a refined palate, but where I
Sure.
love that terminology, that adventurous eater, where he's had these experience. I just think that will mm, walk him into adulthood easily. I know, one of my friends, she was like, I didn't have, a salad until I was 32, so she didn't, because she grew up in the South, they didn't do a lot of salads. Everything was in a casserole, right? So,
Or she thought like salad meant like the one with the mushrooms and the green jello or whatever that thing is.
right,
What is that?
exactly.
Hawaiian
Yeah.
salad? Or
Right. Or salad was diet food or whatever,
yeah, yeah.
the stories. But anyway, so yeah, just walking into adulthood, I think that will, he has a healthy
Serve
relationship.
him.
He has a healthy relationship with food for sure.
No, I never thought of it that way. That's really true because and then if he wants to go on and travel, like maybe he wants to
Right.
study abroad or he
Mhm.
wants to get a job that takes him places, he's going to really flourish in those environments. He's not going to be like looking for the KFC and having to travel to get to the McDonald's
Mhm.
in Japan. He's going to be
Right.
like eating all the things that Japanese people eat. That's
Right.
amazing.
Mhm.
All right, so you've been on a healing journey recently and you've adapted an anti inflammatory diet and you're working on balancing your hormones and you're working really closely with a functional practitioner that you love that's treating you kind of like as a whole person, and trying to help you get back to feeling like yourself. And so I think this is important because so many of my students let their kids be the determining factor or the picky eaters in their household. Sometimes it's the spouse, right? Let
Yeah.
that picky eater in the household be the determining factor as to whether or not they start a healing journey, right? And so, whether it's they're too busy with work or extracurricular activities or getting the kids off to school and back or traveling
Right.
or whatever the case may be, sometimes they cannot bring themselves to starting a healing journey when it involves changing the diet in the home,
Mhm.
especially if they feel like nobody else is going to want to eat that healthy food. So, how did you do it? How did you start? Because I know you're super busy and you're a single mom and you have 1,000 different things that could prevent you from starting. So,
Mhm.
how'd you do it?
So it's funny because you were one of the first stops because I knew you and through our friends so and you're right where when I first wanted to I didn't have the bandwidth where I was not feeling good. I wasn't sleeping. I was running on fumes, total brain fog. And I did not have the bandwidth. And I remember I went to you first and I got some of your recipes. And I did try a couple of them, but it was one of those things where I didn't have the bandwidth to change everything. So the first thing I did actually was I actually got a gut brain health product. So I did a product from a mental wellness company that I'm aligned with. So I started using that, and it really just started with like putting good things in my body, trying to heal my gut. This actually creates dopamine and serotonin, so it literally makes you happier. So literally just try to get some energy and some quite literally dopamine. So in looking back now, it gave me the bandwidth to make better choices around food, around movement, around mindset. So that probably started around the summer. And then like just this last summer, this is all very recent. This is all very new. And in around October, I had the functional medicine practitioner that I partnered with, she opened an 8-week group. So it was good. It was, you know what happened? Actually, I tried to start 75 hard. I've done 75 hard before. And that was a huge red flag for me because I think it was like September. I like to do it when the kids go back to school because it's just like almost like a new year, like a new schedule, fresh start. And I did not have the bandwidth for it. I could not do it. And I've done it before. So I know what it takes. And I'm like, all right, first of all, I'm already mentally tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I knew that there was like massive red flags going up and I needed to figure some stuff out. So she opened her 8-week program in October. So between October and December, I did that. And that helped a lot. And it was week to week, like hand holding, like walking through it. And now this is like 9 months later. I can really say that I've made a lot of progress. You know, it's definitely a work in progress around just like planning meals, and that's definitely like my biggest hang up. Like I'm tired. I'm still single mom tired, right? But having Henry definitely helps. I do better honestly when he's around because I have to feed him when it's here, it's me, I can girl dinner my way through stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, do we have the healthy chicken nuggets in the house? Because I will totally make the chicken nuggets. Like I'm telling you, the roles are reversed. But so you know, now I have so much more knowledge around food and how I react to food and respond to food, and not good food is bad foods, but the foods that make me feel good. So one of the biggest pieces, so yes, I started using that product. The second piece was really that functional medicine practitioner's first piece was the mindset. And I'll just share one of the affirmations, like quite literally, it was a mindset coaching and affirmations. And, you know, when you do change your quote unquote diet or your nutrition or your meal plan, I see so many people and, you know, the autoimmune flare-free groups on Facebook, like I'm missing all my favorites. Like you can't come from a place of restriction or deprivation. Like really look at that. Like I deserve foods that make me feel good. You know, I deserve to feel nourished when I eat my food. You know, I'm worthy of eating foods that make me feel good. Coming from that place of abundance and healing, like these are healing foods, right? I deserve not to feel like crap. Sorry, I don't know if you swear in your podcast, but I'll edit myself. But you know, I'm very candid and it's like, I deserve to not feel like shit when I eat, right? So like, yes, there's things that I used to enjoy and I've just made different swaps that I equally enjoy. So really having that mind piece around, because I was even saying like quote unquote diet foods, not to call them diet foods, but I didn't have anything else to call them.
Sure.
So until that was replaced, until someone helped me replace that to say, these are healing foods. You have to look at your plate and say, these are healing foods. You know, these are foods that make my body feel good. So that's kind of now. So
yeah, we're not punishing ourselves, we're nourishing ourselves.
Yeah.
We're healing ourselves. So
And
yeah.
you touched on it earlier when you were like, you know, you didn't eat bad over the weekend and to work it off, you know, we all have our treats. And also in that plan, one of the things that I learned from her too is to plan the treat meal. Like, you know, plan for it. Like, you know, you're going to want it, you know, like we do pizza on Friday nights. Like that is our jam, you know? And so plan the treat meal, plan the rest day. Like eat how you would normally eat, like for a meal, you know?
Right. I think it's really important to honor your body and honor your cravings because,
Mhm.
okay, so women have like four different phases of their cycle where they are experiencing different cravings.
Oh,
They're
I love
experiencing
that you noticed that. You mentioned that.
right. We're experiencing different hormone ups and downs.
Mhm.
And then men, they have their various hormonal spikes every single day, right? So we're two different people, two different species or whatever it is. But also that what am I trying to say? It doesn't make us bad or wrong to want
Mhm.
to crave something.
Yeah.
Number one, it's a lot of times it's your body signaling that you need a certain nutrient, like a craving for chocolate means you need magnesium.
Mhm.
And when you're magnesium deficient, you end up having higher PMS symptoms, right? So if you eat the chocolate, you very well will lessen your PMS symptoms because you're getting extra magnesium. So it's your body is so clever and it's so smart and it's literally telling you what you need. So don't tell yourself, oh, I can't have the chocolate because the chocolate is bad. Go,
Mhm.
my body needs a chocolate right now. I'm going to choose a good quality, high cacao, no sugar added, dark chocolate that's full of antioxidants. And what is wrong with that? Right? So there's
Right.
various different ways that you can go about it. And I love that you say treat meal and not cheat meal. Because what are
Mhm.
you cheating? When you cheat, what this is not a game. This
I
is
know.
this
And
is our life. This is our
that's been
wellness.
a progress too, where it's like it's not a splurge, it's not a cheat, it's not dirty.
Yeah,
Like cheating
right,
is dirty, right?
right.
Like we're not cheating. It's just a treat. It's a rest day. It's just like where you can mentally and emotionally just take a rest.
Mhm.
Um, and with that, letting go of the guilt and shame
Yes,
and judgment that you're going to give yourself,
yes,
and not punish yourself the next day. So
yes.
no, and what's so interesting when you do start making changes, number one, you have less. I think you have. I had less cravings. I had less cravings I was gonna say the crappy for for the stuff I used to eat.
Yeah.
Because I was healing my body, so I was having less of those like deprivation type cravings.
Mm.
So I was having less of the cravings, and then I really noticed, and we've even had this conversation, girl. There is a bagel shop on my street. It is sourdough bagels. They
Ooh.
make them from scratch, and they are beautiful and delicious. And I love them, and I will eat them, and I will be 9 months pregnant. Like I love bread.
Yeah,
So like, but that's I don't buy bread. I don't buy
yeah.
bread. I don't buy milk, but I will grab a bagel like occasionally or whatever.
Mhm.
But I'm very aware of how I feel when I eat it.
Well, and
So I have
also
to
saying to
choose the
yourself,
benefit.
right. Well, and also like you said, preparing for the treat, right? And saying to yourself, I'm going to eat this in a parasympathetic state. I'm going to eat it in a calm state
Mhm.
where I am
Right.
enjoying myself. I'm chewing my food thoroughly. I'm breathing in between bites, right? Because a
Mhm.
lot of times when we treat ourselves to something that we normally are trying not to eat because it makes us feel bad, then we're kind of scarfing it down, right? And we can't eat it fast enough. And then we end up being sick and bloated and stuffed and all these other things. But if you
Mhm.
can eat calmly and what that does is it not only allows you to digest better, but it keeps your stress levels low.
Mhm.
Okay. And so now our immune system is strong, even if we're eating something that would normally make our immune system go, oh, we're not supposed to eat that. Right.
Mhm.
Let me go attack that right now. Right. Because if you have Hashimoto's and you eat gluten, gluten has the same protein structure as your thyroid. So it literally will send antibodies to attack your own thyroid when you eat gluten because it doesn't know any different. But if
Right.
you're eating, okay, I'm going to eat this, there's a place in Indianapolis that I used to go to every once in a while. I think there's a place in Knoxville too. They make a sour. I don't eat gluten anymore, but they make a sourdough like pizza, brick oven pizza,
Mhm.
or it's a what do they call it? Brick oven pizza. It's like a fire roasted pizza, but it's on sourdough dough, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, it's amazing, and it used to be one of those things I would splurge on like once a year or something. And um, I don't know where I was going with that, but when you plan for it and you actually do it right,
Yeah.
even though you're eating something that would normally cause a flare, I think you can really avoid it. That's why a lot of people can travel and eat
Yeah.
poorly and they think, oh, well, the gluten in Italy is different. Well, let me tell you, celiac is actually very prevalent in Italy.
Mhm.
And it's not any different. Okay. Like, obviously, the methods that they make the pasta is different because they're drying it very slowly versus drying it very quickly like we do here in America. And they're not spraying their wheat with glyphosate. However, gluten is gluten is gluten no matter where you eat it. It's just that a lot of times you're so happy and you're so stress-free when you're eating while you're traveling that you don't have those visceral responses. So there are
That's
ways that
good.
you can still do that right here in your own backyard when you go down the street to have a bagel. So
And I think you're really speaking to like the emotional eaters. Like, it's funny. I
yes.
was saying, I don't think I'm an emotional eater, but I eat emotionally. Like, it's funny because there was one night where I was so tired, and it would have been I was kid free. It would have been my order out night because that's my break. That's how I give myself a break. Sometimes I just need somebody to make me a meal, girl. Okay.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I just took a few minutes. I mustered up 7 minutes of energy and like threw something in the air fryer, and like I grabbed a piece of salmon or whatever and just threw it on the stove with God knows what. And I felt so good. I felt like, sure, that Uber Eats would have like, felt good, but I wouldn't have felt good.
It would have felt good here, but not here,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I felt good. I felt so nourished.
When you feel good from here, that makes you feel good here.
Yes. And I felt so nourished, and I felt full, and I felt satisfied, and I felt like fueled. And I felt like I kind of kept a promise to myself. Like, I feel like the ordering out would have been like the self-abandonment, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I remember I was like, that was easy. Like, and of
Yeah.
course I still will have my treat meal. Okay. I'll still order out occasionally, but that's not
Yeah.
every, so I was just felt so good mentally and emotionally about it because I saved the money and I just took care of
Yeah.
myself. And, it was really a different version of self-love. Sure, the order out would have been a self-care, self-love, whatever, it would have been a break, but also eating healthy is self-love. So
Yes, self-care comes in many forms. And as a person that cooks for a living, I will tell you, I do appreciate someone else cooking and cleaning for me. So if I can go out to
yep.
a restaurant, and then eventually on your journey, you'll get to a point where your wellness, the feeling that you get here from when you feel good internally, the pride that you have, and the the physical energy that you have after eating a nourishing meal, it all starts to have this compounding effect that when you go out for your treat meal, you make better choices. When I go out for a treat meal now, I don't eat queso and like chips at a Mexican restaurant. You know what I mean? Like I can be completely satisfied with eating, steak tacos with cilantro and onions and having a side salad. And that brings me so much joy and I feel better afterwards than if I were to get the enchiladas or the tamale that's covered in cheese with whatever. Like eventually it all starts to compound. It has a snowballing effect and your wellness goals and where you've gotten and the improvements that you've made become, I get so emotional when I talk about this because it's so important. It becomes a driving force for staying consistent and all the other stuff, it doesn't matter as much. And it's okay to emotionally eat. If you have a really stressful day or something big happens and you just need the comfort and the serotonin and the dopamine hit of some french fries or, a piece of whatever gluten-free bread or whatever it is,
Mhm.
it's okay to do that as well, but it's also important at the same time to understand and work towards what can I do before I have that like emotional, before I get that emotional piece of whatever food is going to make me feel immediately good? Can I do some breath work? Can I work through what happened today? Can I sit down and just unload on my partner and say, I need to get this off my chest? And then make a plate of pasta. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's kind of like the same thing as like you can take medication for depression, but it's not going to be as effective as if you were to do EMDR, talk therapy, all of these other things that you can do in addition to taking the medication. So
Right.
I think
Yep.
emotional eating is something that a lot of us probably were raised to do without ever knowing it. And so to get away from that entirely takes a long, long time. Right. And the food actually produces dopamine and serotonin. So we can't blame ourselves for wanting that hit after a long, stressful, hard day, right? There's
Yep.
a reason why we have comfort food. But what else can we do in coordination with that to really help ourselves work through the stress on a cellular level? Because if we don't ever address stress and we don't ever fix stress, our vagus nerve, our nervous system is out of whack, our hormones are out of whack, our immune system is severely suppressed. We're never going to get better. You can eat all the salmon and broccoli in the world. right? But
Right.
if your nervous system and your immune system is crazy and your hormones are completely all out of balance, you're never going to feel well. Like food, I feel like is the first step for a lot of people on a wellness journey because it's the easiest thing. You have to eat 3 times a day. You already have to do it, right? I don't
Mhm.
have to do breath work. I choose
Yeah.
to do breath work. I don't have to do yoga. I choose to do yoga, right? And so it's like I have to eat every day, right?
Right.
And so you have
Mhm.
to do it. So why not start there? But
Mhm.
it's not the end all be all. It's one of the steps in many steps to being well.
Yeah, so good. And I think that's where I try to start too. And my thing was also having the bandwidth to make the better choice around food, because when you're tired and stressed,
Mhm,
for me, I'm like, I need quick, easy. I don't have the bandwidth to even like check
mhm,
out to, or I do, I'm better now.
mhm,
But I think that also it's almost for me being a mindset coach, it's the thought before the action, right?
mhm.
So get your mind right, have that thought in the affirmation carrying you through it, like be very self-aware of it and check in, be like, I deserve to nourish my body,
Mhm. We're going to be talking about this in a free training I have coming up next month. But before you can ever use food as medicine, okay, you have to be in the mindset to use food as medicine. Because
Yeah.
you can have all the recipes in the world, you can
Right.
have all the ingredient lists in the world, you can have all the meal plans in the world. How many students do I know literally have paid for my services but have never once opened up the course? Okay. Yeah, I cannot make you do it. I can provide you with
Yeah.
the resources, but you have
Yeah.
to be in the right mindset to want to do it for yourself. So you're right. It's absolutely step one,
We can give
100%.
you the playbook, but if your mind isn't right, and I do that all the time, people I coach and lead and mentor, I can tell you exactly what to do, but it's going to be your thought around that action that's going
Mhm.
to just decide your action or inaction.
Right, exactly. And I think if you don't have the right mindset, even figuring out what mindset to have and getting to the right mindset, even that can be very overwhelming for people to the point where they don't ever work on their mindset. And so there are lots of little things that can get in the way of us ever starting. And I think that was my original question for you. But I think mindset is a great place to start. And also, as a couple of things that you noted that you touched on is not having the bandwidth. Well, let me tell you what will help you for having the bandwidth. Having systems in place
Mhm.
or having something quick to grab to throw in the air fryer, right?
Right.
If all I have in the house is potato chips and soda and
Right.
the inflammatory chicken nuggets in the freezer, then I'm gonna reach for that when I'm stressed out and I'm tired and I'm too lazy or I don't have any energy to cook, right?
Mhm.
Um, so there's systems in place that you can put, right? And then also having something else to help you get to the point where that's the first thing that you choose. And I think it's mindset, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yep.
it's so easy to stop at a drive-through on the way to work, on the way home from work.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think we've touched on a couple of them too. Like, you are not a Labrador. You don't need to reward or punish yourself with food. But the other thing you just mentioned too, you said you were like, if all you have in the house is chips and soda, I mentioned I don't even buy bread and milk anymore. And
Yeah.
that was actually way earlier on. But we are the gatekeepers.
Yes.
So a couple of things that I do for, I guess I didn't even consider it a system, and I'll just share as a single mom, busy single mom, I 100% believe in grocery delivery, because I
Yeah.
don't have to walk into the store. So I'm not grabbing things off the shelf. I'm not impulsing. Um,
Yes.
and I can stick to a budget. Yes, sure, you might pay a little bit extra in the fee or the
Mhm.
Instacart fee or whatever, but I save money and
Mhm.
time and energy not going to the store. Um,
Amen.
and I do love the idea of blessing someone else. So,
Yeah. Right.
so, I can calmly be in my kitchen. You really touched on it, and I think we can totally do another episode about this. But coming from your parasympathetic nervous system,
Mhm.
where you're in a
Mhm.
calm place in your kitchen, opening your freezer, looking
Mhm.
at what you've got, not
Mhm.
being in the middle of aisle 7, being like, "Do I have that at home?" And then end up buying 3 more that you already have, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm famous for that. So I started trying to do it from my kitchen, and like,
Mm.
you can make your cart like as the week goes. So like, as I
Yes.
remember something, we can add it. We're past the list on the fridge stage of life. You can put it right in your app when you run out of honey or olive oil or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and looking in your fridge and your pantry, what do you still have? Shopping from your fridge, and then like, what do you have in your pantry? Or what are you out of, or what are you low on? So
Mhm.
instead of trying to remember in the grocery store. So I've kind of started to order groceries on like Saturdays. Even
Mhm,
Sunday is very meal planning kind
mhm,
of
mhm,
day. So we try to look at our schedule for the week, because I do have a very active teenager, right? So
mhm.
we all have our family calendars and family schedule. So that's a big part of it. He goes with his dad. So of course I don't have to plan for him for those days. So I'm like, all right, how many full dinners do I have to make?
Yeah.
And we are kind of a little bit of a meal prepper family. We will do like a double batch of, ground turkey and then of course eat on that all week
Mhm,
or a couple days. Like he just took his last one today to school.
mhm.
And with like rice or a vegetable or potato and a vegetable or whatever. So and that's by his choice. That's what he wants. During the week, he likes literally grilled chicken and rice and a
Yep.
veggie, grilled chicken and potato and a veggie,
Yeah.
ground turkey and rice and a veggie and ground turkey and potato and a veggie. Like
Wow.
he likes that
Yeah.
during the week.
Mhm,
And then during the weekend, we get a little bit more adventurous. But again, most of the time he's coming off a golf course or
mhm,
running around and so there is a time and energy component to that where it's like, okay, I still have to get home and prep and cook this. So
mhm.
but that's generally how we do it, like looking at the week schedule and try to just figure out what I need and what I've got on hand and what I need to fill in the gaps. So
Yeah, you got to have systems in place to stay consistent and even get you to a point where you can bring yourself to do it. Because when you break a big task like feeding my family for the week and
right,
changing my diet and embracing an anti-inflammatory lifestyle,
right.
you have to break it down into micro tasks and take it
Love
one
that.
little tiny piece at a time.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Oh my gosh, we have gone off the rails, but it's so good.
So good. I love it. You
All
might
right.
have
So
just listened to.
All right, so there's someone listening right now that is struggling to change their lifestyle, struggling to change their diet, struggling with picky eaters at home so much that it overwhelms them into that inaction that we just spoke about. What would you say to that person, even though they're listening to this and they might feel inspired, but they're just like, I don't think I can do it. How can
Mhm.
I do that? I can't possibly do that on top of all the other things I have to do. What would you say to them to get started?
Well, a couple things. You deserve not to feel like shit. And knowing that you're worthy of feeling good. Again, number one, the mindset, like
Mm,
having that truth and belief in yourself, in knowing your worth and your value in and of yourself. So you have to say, I deserve to do this for myself.
mm,
I deserve to keep this promise to myself, even if it's a small promise, like, right. Even if you start your Instacart cart now, on a what are we Thursday? I thought it was today was Wednesday. It's Thursday.
Today's Thursday.
You started today, even if you started midweek. Number one is just knowing that you deserve to not feel like crap. And I would, picking one thing,
Mm,
whether it's one meal, it's you just said it. It's very micro tasks. Pick
mm,
one meal this week, that you're gonna try to make.
mm,
Or one swap out, and um put something on your fridge or your pantry, like an affirmation, like put it where you're going to see it until you can register that in that self-awareness. When you're tired or when you feel overwhelmed, it's really, really hard to access those thoughts in a state of overwhelm. We've touched on it like 4 times. That when you're in an emotional state, it's really hard to access those coping skills. So put it somewhere where you're going to see it. I know it probably sounds cliche because we've
mm,
all probably heard that along the way, but I think it's true. Put it somewhere that you're going to see it. Put it on your fridge, put it on your pantry, put it on your mirror that like, I deserve to not feel like crap.
mhm.
And
This
that
is
goes
what I
for
always say, and you can take this word for word. What I like to do for my clients, for the students inside my 6-week self-paced meal prep course that sign up during our group coaching session, I actually send them affirmations each week, and I tell them stick it on the fridge or make it your background on your
yeah.
phone. 'Cause you'll see it multiple times a day. But
Mhm.
this is what I always say, and you can write this down or you can change it to fit you. I say, you deserve to live a long, healthy, vibrant, pain-free life, and eating flare-free can get you there. Okay, you just have to know that nothing tastes as good as flare-free feels, right? You have to come to that point in your journey where the but it's not going to taste the same, or nobody's going to like it, or but what if but none of that matters as much as I want to feel well. I want to have energy when I wake up in the morning. I
Right.
want to be able to have no joint pain all day while I'm standing at work. I want to be able to lift up my grandkids without pain. I want to be able to take care of my parents when they're 90 and 95 and they need help getting to the bathroom and stuff. And it's like all of these things you just have to keep telling yourself until it becomes your truth, right?
Yep.
Our it's like the words we say to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes the truth, right? It becomes the truth of our lives. And there's so many things that I have wanted to do that I, without even really thinking about it, I ended up doing them because I said to myself, I wanted to do that in my own brain without even saying it out loud. So you don't even have to say these things out loud. You could just say it to yourself quietly or put it on your phone or stick it on the fridge. I deserve to live a long, healthy, vibrant, pain-free life. I deserve that. And it's in my power to get that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, you just touched on it too. You want to live a long life. When I became a single parent, I forgot to even touch on this because it's funny. You do it for so long, you forget how you start to think back to 10 years ago. But really for me, it's about, I was a single mom. So it was about stamina. It's about longevity and not feeling like I got hit by a truck at the end of the day. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's really what it came from, where it was, we're like, I've got one of me. I've
Yeah.
got one of me. I can't fall apart. There's no one to pick up the pieces. So
Yeah.
like, I've got to
Right.
be 100, 100. There's no 50-50 with a partner. I've got to be 100, 100 for
Yeah.
me. So, and for my kids. So
One of the things you touched on about groceries, because this is something I teach in all of my meal prep courses, is the ordering groceries, right? You cannot cook 20 meals in 3 hours or less if you don't order your groceries because you will be exhausted and you won't have the energy to meal prep.
right.
But one of the things that dawned on me as we were talking is it's another accountability system that you build in for yourself. When you have those groceries coming to your door, you have to eat the groceries now. You have to cook them now. You can
Right.
sit on the couch and be like, oh, I'm too tired. I don't have any energy to go grocery shopping. I'll just order something. When those groceries hit the door, now you got to eat them because you spent money on them and they're there. So, all right. So, lastly, let's do a quick fire session just to have a little fun. I'll ask you various questions and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, what's your favorite book right now or audiobook?
So, it's, I'm a Colleen Hoover fan because it's easy and brainless. And so currently I'm reading Colleen Hoover. But whether I go like fun book or like business personal development book, also Atomic Habits. That's very relevant for this group for sure, because it talks a lot about stacking habits. So if you're looking for a personal growth book, it would be Atomic Habits.
Well, I love that, stacking habits. That's right.
Yeah.
Because habits,
right.
What is it that he says? It's something about like,
it's kind of like I'll come home from work and put my workout clothes on or things like that. It's literally pairing things one-on-one. When I do this, I'll do this. It's like literally pairing things. So
I love that. Okay, what's your favorite podcast if you listen to podcasts?
It's funny. I subscribe to a million and I don't listen to them regularly. Let me look. Hold on. Let's see what's popping up. Other than yours, of course. Let's see. My business coach has one. She what does she call it? Well, Kristen Boss. And there's all business marketing, peace on purpose, make money as a life coach. Yeah. I don't know if I have a favorite.
Kristen Boss is the name of the podcast too?
Yeah, I think I'd actually have to look. I don't actually know her. She just rebranded. So
okay.
Yeah, it's the Kristen Boss podcast. Yeah. But that's for social sellers and like network marketers. So just know. But you get really good business tips, especially if you have a product business or service. So
I think I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Favorite supplement that you're taking right now? Is it your happy
So the
juice?
the current one is from a company called Amare, and it is the mental wellness company. So it's called Happy Juice. If you've heard about it on socials anywhere, it's kind of viral. So that is it's a gut brain access drink. So it's the pre-post phytobiotic with the nootropics and all the things. And it's very clean and plant-based. And I've used a million of these quote unquote things. And this one is a real good one. So
is it refined sugar free? Like, does it have stevia or something?
I forget what it was. One I think even had like monk fruit or something. I don't think Add stevia. Let me send you, let me look,
Yeah,
but
yeah, let me
yeah,
know.
it's sugar-free, well, some of it's sugar-free, caffeine-free.
Okay,
Oh, cane sugar. No, actually there's like 4 grams of cane sugar in one of them,
okay,
but
okay,
the other one is sugar-free. There's a couple
okay.
sugar-free versions too. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Let's see. Favorite meal that you're cooking lately?
So my go-to favorite standby is sweet potato and salmon and like broccoli, like
Okay.
also crispy Brussels sprouts. I can rock some
Mm.
crispy Brussels sprouts in the air fryer. So that's definitely like a go-to healthy one. But again, the go-to around here is ground turkey with onion. I rock at ground turkey. So that's a favorite. And then I feel like I made something else. I found a couple of flare-free things too. It was like a Thai coconut curry situation.
Mm.
It was really good.
Yum.
Yeah.
Favorite like flare-free ingredient at the moment?
Um, flare-free ingredient.
So something dairy-free, gluten-free, sugar-free, anything like
Um,
that? Or something that you use all the time? Could be like
I'm a
an
big olive.
OG favorite. Olive
Yeah,
oil?
like literally, I'm like an olive oil fan. Yeah. So that's a big one. That's a staple around here. I don't use a lot of butter, or other like fats and stuff. I'm trying to think of what's in the pantry. I'll actually just send it to you. I'm not sure if it's totally flare free. I
Mhm.
think it is, but it's Badea. It's Badea complete seasoning.
Oh, I never heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a blend of like oregano, salt and pepper, and
Oh,
garlic, and
wait, I think I have heard of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's not like any salt in it or not a lot of salt in it or something. I think it's kind of like,
Okay.
so that's been a big one. What else? Yeah, we use a
All right.
rocket center. So
Favorite like movement activity. I don't like to say workout because I don't think everybody needs to necessarily work out, but
okay, so
yoga,
this is kind of
walking,
fun.
lifting weights,
Yeah, so
whatever.
this is kind of fun because this is actually was actually part of it. I could not make it through, a 45-minute burn boot camp workout. I love my burn boot camp. I totally canceled that. Could not, it was too high, like for my cortisol, my nervous system, it was just not working. And so for the longest time, for like literally the last 9 months, all I would do was walk.
Mhm.
All I would do was walk. Um, Neighborhood, park, whatever. Like walking was my jam. I'll walk each day. Really like to walk at the end. I like to walk in the beginning of the day, and I like to walk at the end of the day to kind of shake it off.
Mhm.
But currently, like this week, I've actually started just a little bit of morning movement, like 10 minutes, out on the back deck in the early morning sun, and I'll do some lunges and some I have a kettlebell. Actually a set of kettlebells. So I'll do some kettlebell swings, and like this is the first time I'm actually like reincorporating like weights or any
Mm.
kind of like strength training. So I'll do like body weight squats and lunges and some kettlebell swings out on my back deck like in the morning. And
Awesome.
that makes me really, really happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
Mhm.
last two. Favorite like food of all time. Doesn't have to be good or bad. It's just whatever food you like.
Yeah. I think I kind of touched on it. We are a Friday night pizza family, always and forever. And like literally like thick and it's changed over the years. But we will get either the cauliflower pizza from like Costco. Costco has a
Mhm.
great cauliflower pizza. That's flare free, right?
Mhm. Well, it's
Yeah.
not dairy free, but yes, I eat
Okay.
cauliflower crust.
Okay, good. So and then or just the pizza shop around up at the street, up at the street, up the street. Um, so and then we actually had something funny happen last night. We couldn't actually get to where we wanted to because of traffic, and we ended up going for burgers. So I'm a pizza and burgers
Mm,
kind of girl.
mm.
But yeah, and to your point, I actually don't feel awful because we were so calm. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a massive portion. And I think also because, I've done a lot of healing, I think I think my gut's in good shape. Like I don't actually not
Yeah,
react
yeah.
poorly to it. So that was interesting. I
Awesome.
mean, very aware of how food makes me feel. It's like, oh, okay. I actually feel okay.
Yeah, when I was having a lot of digestive issues years ago, I had like this really crazy toxic mold exposure at work, and it just made my gut microbiome crazy out of balance. And zucchini, butternut squash, potatoes, sweet potatoes, beef, and onions were the big ones that were causing me gas and bloating. So even healthy food can really mess you up. So yeah, it's getting your gut to a place where it's balanced to where you can actually physically handle these foods in moderation, because I think everything in moderation is fine. Okay, and then last one, favorite dessert.
Favorite dessert is probably ice cream. Yep, for sure. Yep. And again, in moderation, and I like high quality ice cream. I won't just anything. I learned, this is one thing that I learned kind of, along the line too, if it's not good, I won't finish it. I'm not going to eat it just to eat it. I'm not going to waste the calories or waste the treat on something that doesn't taste good. So I'm a Haagen-Dazs girl. I'm a Jenny's ice cream girl.
Yeah.
In Sonic has a new blast that I really like that it had, where I'm like, okay, I have to be really aware of this. So yeah, ice cream definitely. And I used to be a big milkshake girl. So that's, ice cream definitely is my dessert.
Very yummy. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was super fun. And everybody, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you online if they wanted to check out your mindset coaching program or the Happy Juice, etc.
My Instagram is at MB Easler, as in MaryBeth Easler.
Okay.
At MB Easler on Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome. I will drop that in the show notes for everybody. And thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Edible RX, the podcast that teaches autoimmune warriors to use anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle as medicine. I'm Laura Rodriguez, holistic chef, autoimmune warrior, and creator of the Flare Free Academy. If you found this episode helpful, please leave me a rating and review on iTunes. It would mean the world to me and help other autoimmune warriors find this podcast and hear this message. And if you'd like to register to take my How to Eat Flare Free and the quickest, easiest way to do it webinar coming up, DM me the word webinar on Instagram and I'll get you signed up for that. That's it for me today, y'all. Until next week, eat your damn vegetables.